Alright guys, today we're going to learn how to multiply different types of polynomials, and we're going to start right here with number 1. And if you look, we have a monomial, 2x, on the outside, and inside the parentheses we have a binomial. So we have a monomial times a binomial, and to simplify this, we just do the distributive property. And 2x times 3x, and 2 times 3 is 6, x times x is x squared. And then next, 2x times the second term, 4, and 2 times 4 gives me a positive 8. X times essentially nothing, an invisible 1 gives me x. So 2x times 4 is 8x. And we have just simplified this using the distributive property. Number 2, again, we have a monomial times a binomial in the parentheses here. So we're going to distribute the monomial. And we're going to start off with the 5x squared times 1x, and 5 times the invisible 1 is 5, and x squared and another x gives me 3 of them, so x to the third. So x squared times x is x to the third. Then we're going to finish the distributive property, 5x squared times 2, and 5 times 2 is 10, x squared, 10x squared is what we get. That is how you do it, distributive property. Alright, now these questions here are by far the most important. You're going to see these a lot in the next few weeks and your junior year in Algebra 2. We have a binomial times a binomial. Now if you ask your parents for help, they're going to say, they probably remember this, it's called FOIL. I like to use FOIL too, except FOIL only works for a binomial times a binomial. So later on, when we get to a binomial times a trinomial, FOIL no longer works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not use FOIL. I'm just going to stick with what we did on the first two problems, which is the distributive property twice. Now I'm going to have to distribute the 3x to both the x and the 4 over there, and I'm also going to have to distribute the 1 to the x and the 4. It's the distributive property twice, otherwise known as FOIL. So 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 4 is 12x. And now I'm going to distribute the 1. 1 times x is a positive 1x, and 1 times 4 is a positive 4. Now the thing about doing it like this is we always have to check our answer to see if there's any like terms. And if you look right here, we do have like terms. So I'm going to bring my 3x squared down because there are no other x squareds. My 12x and my 1x combine to give me 13x. And my plus 4, there's no other numbers by themselves without any variables, so I'm just going to bring him down and say plus 4. And this is my answer, simplified using the distributive property twice, otherwise known as FOIL. All right, question number 4. Again, we have a binomial, x plus 5, times another binomial, x squared minus 2. So we're going to do, again, not FOIL, but instead the distributive property twice. It's really the same thing, so if you hear me say not FOIL, it really is FOIL. So I'm going to start with distributing this x, and then I'm going to distribute this 5 to both terms in the other binomial. So x times x squared gives me x to the third. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. And now I'm going to distribute this 5 right here. 5 times x squared is 5x squared. And 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Now again, I always want to check and see if there's any like terms. So I have my x to the third. There are no other x to the thirds. So I'm going to bring him down. And I want to put this in standard form as I go. So I'm looking for x squareds next. So I see 5x squared. There are no other x squareds. So I'm going to bring down my positive 5x squared. And then I look and I see my x to the first power, or just x. Negative 2x. He doesn't have any like terms either. So I'm going to bring him down. And then finally my negative 10 doesn't have any like terms. So I'm going to bring him down. So this is my answer in standard form, either FOIL or the double distributive property, however you want to say it. All right, number 5, we have a monomial times a trinomial inside the parentheses. Now, when it's a monomial, that's one term. That means you do the distributive property once. So I'm going to take this 2x, I'm going to distribute him to all 3 terms. So 2x times x squared gives me 2x to the third, because there's 3 x's there. 1 over here and 2 more here. 2x times 4x gives me 8x squared, because there's 2 x's, one on the outside and one right here on the inside of the parentheses. And then finally 2x times negative 3 gives me negative 6x. I check real quick to see if there's any like terms, and there's not. So this is my answer, and it's already in standard form. All right, in the last example here, we have a binomial x plus 2 times a trinomial. And whenever it's a binomial times a trinomial, that means you're going to do the distribute property twice. I'm going to distribute that x to all three terms in the trinomial, and I'm going to distribute this 2 to all three terms in the trinomial. So I'm going to start with the x, and it's going to go pretty fast. X times x squared is x to the third. X times 3x is positive 3x squared. And x times negative 1 is negative 1x. Then I'm going to distribute the 2. 2 times x squared is a positive 2x squared. 2 times 3x is a positive 6x. 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. Now again, I'm going to look for like terms. I'm going to start with the x to the third because he's the highest degree. There are no other x to the third, so I'm just going to bring him straight down. Then I look for x squareds, and I see a couple of x squared, so I know those are like terms. I can combine them, and positive 3 and positive 2 gives me positive 5x squared. Next, I'm looking for the x to the first powers, and I have a couple of them. Negative 1x and positive 6x gives me positive 5x. And finally, the number all by itself, negative 2, doesn't have any like terms, so I'm just going to bring him down, and this is my answer, doing the distributive property twice. Now this, again, you can't say FOIL on this type of problem. That's why I don't say FOIL.